We're back.
The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at with your hosts, Shane Chapman and Way Laurent. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Let's go.
All right, we're back. It's episode Who Could Possibly Know without looking it up, and I did not. And I also think I'm going to get away from the whole episode numbers anyway, because we got it all buggered up by doing like multi-part episodes and live ones and like sponsored ones we didn't count. And it's like, we're on like episode 205, but really we've done 230 of them. Like,
and nobody
whatever.
cares. Nobody looks it up by the number.
Right.
They're not like, you know
Check
what
out
one
episode-
was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been a minute since we've been on these microphones. We had to dust the room off and get back on here because legitimately it's probably been like December since we
I was
actually
going to say it
recorded
was
a couple.
November, but yeah.
Because we had a bit of a hiatus, I think, after Deck Expo in November.
Yep.
And then we were like, oh, we need to get back at this. We shot 2 more and then went dark for...
You know what, man? Sometimes you
You
got
know.
to take a break, right?
How do you guys not burn out? And it's like, oh, I don't know. We just keep going. It's like, well, it happened.
What do you find to talk about?
Yeah.
We ran out of ideas.
Yeah, had to wait for 6 months of industry things to happen before we could like fire this thing back up. But here we are, we're back, and we are dedicated to doing this again weekly now.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Did you know that part? Or
Yeah.
was I just threw that upon
No,
you
I
right
did
now?
know that. Yeah.
Okay.
The timing is always tricky. Friday afternoons is not the best time to do the.
So that's what we've been saying for months. That it's like, okay, you know what? This is the week. We're gonna. People kept asking, like, is the podcast done? Like, are you guys not doing it? No, we're going to do it. We're just like having a hard time being in the same spot to do
Yeah.
it. And we kept trying to make it happen on Fridays, but inevitably one of us was gone on Fridays, and it's just like it just hasn't happened. But we're back now, and so now that we're
We'll just
into
make it
it,
work.
we're just gonna make it work.
Yeah.
Just a matter of getting the habit back. So, what have you been doing for the last 6 months?
Oh, man. I don't know. I feel like winter just sort of flew by, right? Like didn't it just like it was over?
No.
No?
Well, it went till the end of April.
Right. Yeah.
Which part flew by?
The like renovating the stores. We had talked about changing out railing displays, and we had talked about like making the stores look better, and like that just happened last week. We finally got that done.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. We ran out of winter to get all the winter things done.
Yeah.
That wasn't because winter was short.
And so we did a few home shows, and like back in Saskatoon, we have some shows that happened up there, which is fantastic because we haven't had many shows in that market.
Yes.
So it's really good to get those happening.
Yep.
I blew my Skidoo up again, and then like had to get a new engine in that thing. That's always fun.
Like a recurring story.
Yeah, it's like every time I drive it, it's like this is what happens with snow machines. You buy them, you drive them, they blow up, you put a new motor in.
One time use. Yeah.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Disposable motors.
Almost. Yeah.
What do you have? Polaris?
Yeah.
That's why.
You know what? It actually is a thing.
I have like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I just know that people are loyal to their sleds like they are to their trucks. So
Yeah.
like somebody out there would be like, it's because it's a Polaris.
Yeah, it's a bad year of Polaris, and that's known. There's like they had an engine in 2014 to 2016 that was like a bad engine.
That's why you got a good deal on the sled.
I did.
Guys like enough of this.
Yeah, he put 2 in it. Probably was like, how is it? Well, it runs great. Right after he put a new engine in it.
Because I haven't used it yet on this new engine.
So
yeah, okay. Well,
yeah, that's it.
yeah, I don't
Little bit
think
of
that
fishing.
winter flew by. Like, certainly it may have felt like that because we tried to get a whole bunch of stuff done, launched a new website, and that certainly made it feel like the pressure was on to get like that done before spring. But but winter itself, like, we always get teased a little bit
It,
in
like,
late
hung on.
March, early April, and then we got a 3-day blizzard in like the 3rd week of April.
That one was really bad.
And that just slowed the entire industry down here, where we are anyways. Everybody's like, oh, man, we're so dead. And it's like, well, yeah, there's a foot of snow on the ground. And it's like, we're supposed to be a month into spring right now, and there's a foot of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
So that'll slow things down.
Yeah.
So anyways, this first episode back, we thought we'd just kind of like jump back into how the year's been, because it's half over, shockingly. It's like,
Yeah.
because people are like, what the hell happened? I listened, you guys were going for Christmas, and now the year's half over? What?
Yep.
But that's that. And so we're going to just go through some of the things we've seen from this year. One of the things I have been hearing or getting asked from people this year, and I didn't think there was anything to it until recently, is how are you guys doing getting product in? Is there like a lot of issues getting product and stuff? And I was like, Like, I don't really think so. I think things have been pretty good because coming out of last year, things were pretty good. And this year I had no reason to believe that they wouldn't be again. Nobody was telling us like, heads up, there's going to be shortages, but it seems like we're certainly starting to run into some things, some shortages.
Yeah. And it's not
like COVID bad.
Yeah. It's not everything. And it's not, like you said, it's not COVID bad. It's not like we don't have it and we don't know when it's going to be. It's like we have it. We just have to get it to us now. Right.
Yeah.
So distributors, it's almost like some distributors ordered a little bit light, probably because they pulled the market. And when people were asking us in the wintertime, like, what do you think is going to happen in 2023? It's like, I don't know, interest rates are climbing a little bit. People might be a little bit more reserved. And so that was the messaging we gave the people that we buy from.
Yeah.
And so they probably took that advice and likely heard it from others. And so they might have bought conservatively. And then here we are in 2023, and it actually seems to still kind of chugging along. So now when we're trying to get product in, it's like there's not long delays, but there's slight delays in getting some stuff, right?
And I think the slow start to the season certainly like it affected our ability to purchase and get things moving a little bit too. Is like we landed all of our bookings early and then they were due early and the season hadn't started yet. And it's like you're kind of sitting in like you've kind of maxed out your credit account, like your credit limits a little bit. And it's like, I'd like to get more. It's like, we'd like you to pay down something first.
Yeah.
We're
well,
like,
that's all still in the yard.
Like, we need this now. And it's like, well, normally you guys, normally we've paid everything by now, but we're just getting started this year. We're a full month and a half behind right now. So certainly pose some challenges. Then you get it all cleared up. It's like, okay, ship it now. And they're like, we don't have it. It's like, well, shit. Okay, fine. Anyway, so far this year, how has 2023 been from, like, in my perspective, it was a really slow start, which maybe fed into the fear that people had about this year. It's like, it might be a down year because of, like you said, interest rates were up. There's a lot of looming media about recession coming, and there's wars, and there's just like, anytime there's uncertainty in the world, people tend to hold their wallets a little bit closer. Yeah. Especially as interest rates are going up and people's variable mortgages are getting more and more expensive. It's like, are they going to be able to afford to do their projects? And then,
also maybe a lot of projects were already done. You know what I mean? Like
that too. Yeah.
Maybe a lot of people had already done some stuff and they had like the ones that you were hoping to sell in 2023 actually kind of pulled forward into 22 or 21. And, there's just not as many to do now.
Yeah. So, the late winter certainly like made that hard to predict. It's like, is this because it is going to be a crappy year, or is it just because there's snow on the ground? Like, it's probably because there's snow on the ground. So anyways, once we got April out of the way, May started, and it was a pretty decent May. Not like rock your socks off, but like a respectable May.
Yeah.
And now June has been really good.
Yeah.
So it's like we're now catching up. The activity is there. Things are happening. And like we're suiting up to have one of our best Junes ever, if not the best ever. So it's like all of a sudden it's like it's caught up and it's actually a really good year. And it's like the fear of things not happening is, I don't know, I guess things are just going to happen.
Yeah, you just have to hope that pace continues now.
Yeah.
Right? Like we have to hope that, what year was it? Was it 21? It was like skyrocketed to June and then went to July and then just like all the way down.
Yeah.
And it was like, now you sell nothing.
Yeah. Insane spring. Yeah. That year was like March was just a monster. Like 2021 compared to this year is like the polar opposite.
Yeah.
Polar opposite.
Yeah. So hopefully we have like a steady fall, late back half of summer and then just a steady fall. And that's it. That's what I hope for.
So you hope for, but what are you actually expecting from the back half? Do you think so? Like June 30th / July 1st, we're in the middle of it right now, middle of the season. As far as our like revenue goes, it's usually weighted a little bit more towards the back half of the year, especially this year.
Yeah.
But what are you expecting from the back half? You think it's going to be like maintain this pace of June, or is it going to settle in a little bit? Or
so tricky. I believe that it will come off a little bit. July, August will be a little bit down. That's just purchasing habits. People go on holidays because kids are out of school now, right? Last day was today or yesterday or whatever.
Yep.
So vacations are starting, and that probably slows down the deck building for the DIY market and also the contractors, because now you don't want contractors in your backyard because like you're gone for 2 weeks, right? So.
Yeah.
I would think that it'll slow a little bit. I do think that it'll still be pretty good. Like our contractors all sound like they're busy and they're booked quite a ways out.
Yeah.
our managed install pipeline, we probably have 12 decks in that pipeline. So we got, 4 or 5 weeks of work.
Yep.
So I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be steady.
Yeah, I'm not expecting any sort of drop off. Certainly not like 2021. 2021 it's a write off.
Such an anomaly.
When you look at it, like total sales on the year, it was like a normal-ish year. It was a good normal year.
Yeah.
But when you look at the graph of how it happened, how you got there, super strange.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting a drop off like that. I think this will be a more normal year, which means we should probably carry through July and August still strong, kind of like close to June numbers, and then this September starts the decline a little bit. It's still strong, but it's starting to trend down.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting that to get a couple more good months out of this. I don't think everyone in the industry always says like things slow down over the summer, and I think they do. The phone calls do kind of slow down a little bit because people are gone and they're doing their own things, and the DIY market's maybe not actively building as much because they're on holidays, kids are at school and whatnot. But it's never as far as sales are concerned, it's never a huge drop off. It's just like almost a flattening or like a softening effect a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like we do a bunch of work in quotation marks. We do all our quoting in May and June.
Yeah.
Right? April, May, June, we quote. And so then somebody can walk in the door in July and it doesn't feel like work because they walk in and they're like, go ahead with that.
They're there to pay. Yeah.
Right?
Not the 2 hours of
you don't actually
prep
work with them. They just walk in and they take it.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to visit with the yard guys at the end of summer and be like, what do you think was your busiest month? Because our yard teams might think July and August are.
Yeah. They're like, cute. You guys sit upstairs in your cozy offices telling us how busy it is every month. How about you go? Corey Dubb on the Instagram machine, because we're live on Instagram again. We just hacked this together today. I didn't feel like setting up all the cameras for all the things, but like some people are probably just going to appreciate that. Just get back to basics and put it on Instagram Live. That's all we want.
Haney always wanted it like that.
Yeah. Corey from Fortress says, you guys are matching today. Cute.
Oh, yeah.
And I did not notice that until he said that, but we are wearing, like my shorts are blue, yours are gray, but they're both dark, and black colored golf shirts. So I guess.
You went branded. I didn't. I forgot we were doing the podcast today.
I've been on a really good branded kick lately.
Me too, until today.
I got new shirts. That was my problem, is all my branded Tuds shirts were getting pretty old. Yeah. And I was like not enjoying wearing them anymore. So then I was starting to get into like the Vista shirt, the decorator shirt.
Yep.
And then I ordered new ones, and now I've got like
a few.
Well, and you brought 2 more for me. So now I've probably got like 6 like good new ones. So that's a good rotation. I can go different shirt every day of the week and refresh next week.
I have a few in the I got a few in the bag.
Mitcon Dex says, what? They're back. And on Instagram, like a blast in the past. Good to see you guys. So he's enjoying this. Oh, Haney's actually in here.
There he is.
Still waiting on the Tuds DIY equals POSTs. Willing to buy a gaggle. We haven't done a t-shirt in like 2 years, and he's not forgotten.
I know.
So anyway, with the year always comes some struggles. This is a tough time of year because all of the issues arise now as like the most amount of material is moving and the most amount of projects are happening and the most amount of purchasing happening. And I'd imagine that's for everybody, right from the manufacturers down to the contractors. Like this is the most hectic time of year.
Yeah.
And so this is when, because of the volume and the massive things happening, when you start to hear about things that might be like issues that might be out there. And
it's also stressful for everybody, right? Like everybody's busy and stressful, and then we have issues show up.
Yeah.
Here we go.
We talked about the shortages a little bit already, but there's a couple product issues that we're having this year. And I'm like, nobody's going to learn anything from this podcast, but we're just kind of like talking out loud to see if like maybe other people in other markets are experiencing similar things. Because it's kind of funny when there's an issue. You hear it from one person and you kind of discount it a little bit. It's like, oh, you're like, you must be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I hear about an issue with a screw or something like that, on a given year, it's like, these screws don't work. It's like, either you don't know how to use them because maybe you're a homeowner. It's not, I'm assuming you're not super experienced with it. Or I'm assuming that like, oh, maybe you got a bad box or something. Right?
Yeah.
But then you start to hear them over and over again. It's like, oh, okay, something's up here. Then you start to dig into it.
Yeah.
So this year, what I'm referring to on that one, because of the other one, I feel like it's the bigger issue. We'll leave it for the back half.
Yeah.
Keep
them in suspense.
Right. About a week ago, I had one of our sales staff in Saskatoon message me and be like, have you heard of issues with Pro Plug plugs not fitting?
Seating properly.
And I was like, no. It's always you never know what that question is asking. For us, we hear about frickin' everything because we're just nerds in the industry. And it's like, yeah, I've heard of scenarios, but it's because of this, this.
And you always want to do like what every salesperson does. Because when you phone a salesperson and you're like, hey, these plugs aren't working. Have you ever heard of that? Nope, never
heard of it.
Never heard of it. That's never happened. Not one time.
But in this case, it's like, well, yes, I have when people have used Fastmaster Cortex screws with Starborn Pro Plug plugs. Those things are like, they're off by like a 64th of an inch. They don't perfectly work together.
That's
so
right.
Your head goes there. It's like, have I heard of it? Well, no. Unless this weird scenario is happening again where somebody's mixing. But if this is like one homeowner, like that's not what they would be doing.
That's right.
So it's like, no, what's up? Well, this person's saying that they put their screw in and the plug's not fitting in really that well. And it's like, I was like, okay, what board is it? And I can't remember if it was Fibron or Decorators. It was not a PVC. It was a composite of some sort. Because my solution was, I was like, oh, well, yeah, like tell them to pre-drill.
Yeah.
With at least a 3/16 inch drill bit through the decking only, not into the framing lumber, and then that should solve the problem. My assumption was that they were just like not pre-drilling, driving through. It was because sometimes that happens and they are a little bit tight. The hole doesn't clear super cleanly or something.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yep.
And so I was like, so do that. And so that was the end of it. Never heard back. So either that worked or whatever. So fast forward a couple days, and I think it was actually the other night we were with John from Decorators and a couple contractors.
Yeah, the new Decorators rep in Western Canada.
Who was in here. And contractor brought it up.
Yeah.
And they're like, we've had some issues lately with Pro Plug plug kits. Those plugs aren't fitting in. And I was like, wait, what? And so now it's like, this guy would know. He's used these plugs for years, thousands of plugs. He would know if something changed. You know, when Joe Blow does it and it's like, the plug's not fitting right. You're like, oh, well, you're not doing it right.
Must be.
But when a guy with, 1,000 decks under his belt says it, you're like, oh, okay, wait, maybe there was something to this. So apparently the issue is that the plugs are not seating down into the hole properly because they're cut too fat, it sounds like. Because he said we actually went and took and cut the bottom of the plug so it was shorter, thinking that maybe the plug was bottoming out and that's why it wasn't pounding down all the way. And that didn't help.
Wasn't the answer.
So then they took I can't remember what he said they ended up using.
They went
a 964.
They went 1/64th bigger.
Bigger than a 1/4 inch bit. Because they tried a 1/4 inch drill bit, which usually would seat the plug.
Yeah.
Like that's the size of the hole, size of the plug.
Yeah.
They tried just a 1/4 inch bit, still wouldn't fit. Went like 1/64th or maybe a 32nd bigger, I can't remember. And he's like fit, but like still pretty snug, like tighter than normal.
And causing like a little bit of an impression or a dent where that plug is because it's now like it's so tight, it's actually pulling the surface of that material down.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's that. And so I fired off an email to our distributor this morning, I think, about that issue because it's pretty fresh to see if there's been like other instances of that happening. So I don't know, like out in the world, certainly.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, that's what it'll happen for sure. But I do believe that there's maybe something to it now that, Decked Out was the contractor that mentioned it. And like multiple people in his business were saying it, like they had each experienced it.
Yep.
So there's something there. So I don't know if anybody's in the Instagram world that's using Pro plugs with Decorators or Fibron, so far it seems.
Yeah.
Are you having this issue? But it's hard to explain that. What changed? Well, it's not like Starborn went and changed all their plug cutters to be bigger. Like, so like what happened?
Maybe they wore out.
Is it just a bad batch? Maybe they're like, who knows?
Maybe the press is worn out.
It's one of those things. I remember we had this issue like years ago with Fastmaster Cortex, not the exact same issue, but all of a sudden one day the screws they were stripping out a lot more.
Right.
They were not pulling down into the material
and
they were spinning out when the reverse threads hit. And it was like, we went back to Fastmaster at the time. This was probably 5-6 years ago.
Yep.
And we were telling them like, your screws aren't working right anymore. They're like, well, nothing's changed with the screws. It's like, well, something changed with the screws. I'm telling you, because I'm out here. Because I was 6 or 7 years ago. Because I was still building. Because I remember I experienced it.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it doesn't make any sense because nothing changed. And I was like, so anyways, I did my own research and I was taking like old screw, nude screw, whatever, and I zoomed in with like macro mode in my phone, and it was like something did change. Like your threading on your screws before was much more aggressive.
Yeah.
Not much more.
The reverse thread changed.
Under a magnetic magnetic scope.
Yeah.
Magnifying glass, whatever. You could see that the threads used to be just like a hair more aggressive, like larger.
Yes.
Than the shank. And then all of a sudden, these new screws, they were just a hair less. And I was like, it's got to be that.
Yep.
I have no idea what ended up happening with that. But it was like, there was something that changed us just a little bit.
Something was off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. It's tricky because that's a product that, you know, it's one of those things that takes the deck to the next level and you're so excited to sell it and so excited to use it. And then when it doesn't work properly, it's just like, well, shoot, this is what I want. I wanted to use these. And then when they don't work properly, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
So
Haney says, we just ran a few thousand Pro plugs and a couple dozen Cortex screws when we ran out of Starborn. Not the same. I had the fellas drilling out the Cortex holes before attempting to plug. About 1/64th of a difference. So that we knew about already, that
difference between Fastenmaster and Starborn. That's a thing.
Can't mix and match those. And one way does kind of fit and the other way doesn't fit at all. And I can't remember which one it is. Like
a Starborn.
Cortex plug will fit in a Starborn screw hole, but the other way won't work or something like that.
Yeah.
So that we knew about. This wasn't the problem. The problem that we're hearing about today is like, it's Pro plug kits.
Their
bit, their screws, their plugs aren't working as well as they used to.
Correct.
So there we have it. If anybody from Starborn's listening, reach out if you need more information. I don't have any more. You got it all right there.
That's it.
But
the other part that came up in that conversation was the camo edge clips, and some of the screws were shearing off or snapping off, right? And so we chatted through about, you know, impact versus drill and using the camo drive tool versus hand bombing them in.
Yeah.
Using the yellow jig, the stopper.
Yeah, never miss guide.
Yeah, and so Mike from Decked Out ended up saying that he doesn't use any of that. He doesn't use the drive tool and he doesn't use the never miss guide. He prefers to do it all by hand with his drill because he can feel it.
With the screwdriver for ultimate
it's
feel.
It's not a screwdriver, but yeah. But with his drill, because then he can feel the torque all on his own. And there's a lot to it, right? We talked about, you know, the density of the wood and the, you know, even what type of wood, because it's spruce pine fir. And so if one of your joists is actually fir and the other one's spruce, like you can feel that torque and that tension differently, right? So
yeah, and when you're using the clip drive, you can't
feel
just
anything.
Like clutch of the drill doesn't work, and like I don't know, I think that freaking tool is awesome. I'm gonna use it again this weekend, but I built my in-laws like stair landing and ramp. I don't know, a couple weeks ago out at their cabin. And I'd used that tool before, but in very small capacity, like just trying it on things here and there, right? But doing it on that, I was like, this thing is unreal. Like, you can blast this out so fast. I gave it to my father-in-law. Who's never done, like, he's handy, he's a farmer, but not used specialty deck tools before. I was like, here, try this. And he's just like, and he's like, wow, that's something else. So it's awesome. Yeah. But Mike has a point that you do lose the feel when you're using that tool. So if you're over torquing it, you don't really know for sure. Like I feel like I was doing a good job. I feel like I had the torque in the drill set. I feel like it was clutching out where it should and whatever. But certainly it doesn't replace having your hand on the drill and feeling the drill twist
just a little
when you
bit.
know it's tight.
Yeah.
So,
we had a bunch of screws come back that, you know, they sheared off. And so,
yeah. And so it's like few and far between. We saw tons and tons and tons of those. You hear about the odd screw snap or the odd person that has issues. And I still think that most of the time it is explained by that person was using an impact driver or didn't have the clutch set, like they over torqued the screw most of the time.
They absolutely did. Yeah.
But there's certainly been some instances too, where it's like, that wasn't that. Something else is going on here.
Yeah.
So that's, we didn't have that on the list, but there we are.
Yeah.
What we did have on the list and wanted to talk about was dialog issues this year. What in the hell's going on?
Yeah. It really seems like there's more of that this year than there has been in the past. It seems.
Yeah. And like Mountain View, Joel Mountain View's in here, so he's gonna be able to speak to this a little bit too if he's been experiencing it. But usually once a year, at least, we do run into this at some point.
Yep.
With one brand or another.
Yes.
We've experienced it with Trex. We've experienced it with Fiberon. We've experienced it with Decorators. We've experienced it now with Moisture Shield. We've never experienced it with Wolf, which is one of the, like, we give credit to Wolf all the time for that. It's like, you know what? Their boards come consistent widths and consistent color, and we've never had an issue. Maybe we just don't move enough fit. Maybe somebody else has, but we've never had that issue with them.
So funny that you bring that up right now, actually.
Oh, great. Did we actually have an issue?
It's not like kind of. So I changed out a wind wall today where like some of the boards were cut a little bit short. And so they would, it was a Hoft post, and then they would just contract, and it was so close that they would contract and then fall through that spacer.
Right.
And so I went and changed the boards, and on there's 11 boards, 4 of them were not the right color. There was like onyx was the color I used, and there was 7 boards that were great and 4 boards that were not.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, chalk it up. We're now 100%.
So
Everybody's had a color.
And when I was going out there, I took enough material to do all 11. I was like, I'm taking enough material to redo that whole wall if I have to.
Yeah.
I'll reuse what I can, but if it has to change, it has to change. Put it all together, stepped back, looked at it, and was like, all dark, light, dark, all light. And I was like, ugh, take it all apart.
Okay.
Them. So, yeah, onyx is the product from last year is a little bit lighter than the product from this year. This is a darker onyx board now.
Like the stuff that just came in on the truck the other day is darker than the stuff from last year.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's the first time. When did we start carrying Wolf?
4 years
It was
ago.
on, yeah, right? I think first year at our Duty location, maybe. So 5 years
Maybe
ago.
5 years ago.
So that was, I'll take that back. Until now, we've never had a color issue with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so this year, though, it seems to be now, like literally at this point, we've experienced colors issues with all of them.
That we carry. Yep. Every brand that we carry has an issue right now.
And we're only halfway through not even halfway through the season right now.
Yep.
So now, I guess Wolf, small issue with Wolf.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's going to turn into anything, but maybe it does. Maybe if somebody tries to add on
Like,
to
was it a bunch different? Like, you noticed it right away, obviously.
I noticed it right away. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Decorators, especially on the Tundra color, seems like that thing changes.
Every
Like
single bundle that
change your
leaves
underwear.
the warehouse, their manufacturing plant, is a different color with Tundra. So I would say with decorators, Sierra seems to be fairly consistent. Dark slate is like dynamite. We've
Solid color, hard to screw that one up.
Right. We've never had an issue with that one. I would say that every year we have an issue with Tundra.
Yeah.
At some point. Too light, too dark, too gray.
Not enough streaking, too much streaking, average streaking.
God, it's like,
And I think maybe we've had that a little bit with like, what I've noticed sometimes too is between the multi-widths
yes.
of like a 5.5 inch wide Kaya board, for example, and then the 7 1/4 inch one.
Yes.
The wider ones seem to always have less dark streaking in them.
Yeah.
And like, why?
Well,
Doesn't make any sense either.
I don't know. Maybe they aren't putting enough like streaking pellets in.
Yeah. It's like when they do a 5.5 inch board, they're like, we're going to use
1,000 streak pellets.
right. I was going to go for weight, but number of pellets, that works too. And then for the like 7 1/4, they're like, still just 1,000 though.
Streak pellets. That's what I'm calling
Like, that's
them.
what it seems like, right?
Yes.
It's just like more spread out.
Because it's muted, right? It's not, it doesn't seem as bright. So that reminds me, I was talking to the Brolaws and I was complaining about coal powered cars, electric cars, and then how much energy it was going to save. And like one of the arguments is that, well, we have to reduce global warming and blah, blah, blah. And then there was a bunch of clips about in the US where there are congressmen interviewing or basically interrogating electric engineers, being like, well, what is this actually going to do? Like how much cooler is Earth going to be if we switch over to electric cars? And they couldn't come up with an answer. And so Dave was like, he should have just said 7 Earth units.
Yeah.
It's like, because you don't, like, they can't tell you that it's going to be cooler or warmer. They'd have no idea, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but I need a number. Like, if you're going to go and tell everybody that it works, then you have to have some data to support that. I was like, well, 7 Earth units is what it'll do.
That'll work. Yeah.
So anyways,
I
1,000
sit
pellets.
here and it's like people with your logic there. It's like people are like, well, how many more years am I going to get out of my framing if I had the G tape then?
Yeah.
Easy. There's no hard data or science on this. It's just like common sense would say, yeah, but like twice as long, like 10 more years ish.
I
Yeah,
don't
sure.
know.
Like around there. Okay. So, we gotta harp on everybody here. It can't just pick one, you know? So decorators, for sure, there's been some issues. Continues.
Yeah, maybe we don't move enough cost. It seems good. Mesa seems good. It's really
Mesa,
just
for sure we don't move enough up to know.
it's just
for sure,
Tundra.
but Tundra seems like
It's
the
a
one we have the
struggle.
most issues with. Fibron, I don't know if we've had issues this year.
Yeah, I got one.
Actually,
I have one claim that's going on with Cabana.
Do we? Okay. Like, what's the story? Like, too much streaking, less streaking than other boards, or color?
It's
itself?
a color. It's like the guy thinks it actually faded. He's actually putting together a claim through their program because he thinks it's faded.
Oh, I think I saw that one. Is that legit though?
I don't know. I told him he had to do the paperwork and we'd get the rep to come out
I
and have
saw
a
the
look
pictures
at
of that. I
it.
was like, it looks completely normal.
It looks pretty normal to me.
So
But
I don't know about that one, but that would be a different story, I guess.
Yep.
But we have had issues with Fibron in the past. We've had some like chai from the Sanctuary line come that was like the core of the board was all red and it bled through and made the board pink.
Yes.
That was
I
weird.
remember that. Yep.
I think we've had some color issues with Fibron outside for that, just like dye lot, like different batches too, though. But I can't think of one off the top of my head.
So they do seem to be pretty consistent.
Okay.
In my experience, I don't recall a lot of issue with Fibron with their boards.
Okay.
That chai for sure had some issues. And then we did have some latte one time that was a little bit like, it was like too
Different.
gray. It was too gray. It looked more like Earl Grey. But
I feel like there was for
that's
sure
it.
one in the Good Life line. It was like a Cabana. I don't think it was Cabana. Maybe it was Beach House or something like that, where it was like the coloring was a little bit off too.
Or was
But
it
anyways,
Tuscan Villa? Maybe
not as much. Oh, maybe. I don't know. It was one of those Good Life ones.
Yeah.
So we've had it there as well. Maybe we haven't had as much this year. And then who's next down the line? So Moisture Shield. So we just started stocking Moisture Shield again this year. We stocked Moisture Shield years ago. Like when we first opened the store, we had like their Vantage line a little bit on hand. And then we hadn't stocked it for a number of years. And then this year we started stocking it again. Not the Vantage line, sorry, the Meridian line in two colors, Catalina and Citadel.
Yeah.
Because I really liked the boards
colors
looked
are
really
great.
nice. The cool deck was like a small benefit as well. So you got
They've done
that without the Vision line.
They've done a great marketing campaign on Cool Deck. Like lots of people ask for it. You know, they've done a really good job of getting it out there. And so people are asking for the board that has that Cool Deck stuff. And it's like,
Yeah. So anyways, we got it.
They also made some changes to their capping. And like they were having issues with their cap before, and they were having issues with changing colors and changing. And so those were a few of the reasons that we didn't stay with Moisture Shield. Because it was like every couple of years they changed all their colors and then they change all their cap. And it was like, you guys, how do we move this? And they're like, well, that's yours. So then we wouldn't stock it.
6-7 years ago, their marketing campaign, I can't remember the exact wording was, we don't cap our boards because we don't have to. Like it was some wording like that. It was like everybody else has experienced field failures, therefore they have to cap the boards, but we've never had a field failure. Therefore we don't have to cap our boards.
Mm-hmm.
And very BlackBerry minded. It's like, right? It's like, well, everybody loves the keyboard. It's like, yeah, but the technology is advanced and people really like the new stuff.
Yeah.
Because maybe you didn't have a field failure, but that's not why people are buying the new stuff. They're buying the new stuff because it doesn't fade and it doesn't stain and it is protected better and it's easier to clean and all these other reasons. That's why they like it more. Yeah. Not because they're worried that without it, it was going to fail. Yeah. So it was like they got stuck. They got like a little bit romantic with their past and they delayed and they're like, we're not going to cap because you don't have to. We're not going to cap. We don't have to. I'm guessing sales started to drop. Also, it was like,
we're going to try something.
Here's a cap board, though. What do you think about this one? And then people use it and they're like, it's not very good. Not very good, guys. Really soft. Scratches, just looking at it. Not good. Like, oh, right. Yeah, off the market. Yeah, what about this one? Yeah. Still not that great, though. Oh, get off the market. It was like, finally they put out some products here in the last few years and it was like, okay, now we're getting there. Now these are
and so they have good colors and they have like a good campaign going and they have, possibly figured out some of the capping issues. Yeah. So anyways, now we got a couple truckloads of Citadel and Catalina and we're like, this is going to be so sweet. And then it shows up and the sample boards go on the wall and I kept questioning them. I was like, boy, like the one in the middle looks really nice. And the two on the outside, I gotta be honest, if it looked like that when I looked at this, I don't think I would have booked this. Like it's really yellow, there's not much streaking. I don't think it was right because I wouldn't have felt comfortable bringing that color on. Yeah. And so when the rep was here, I was like, is this right? Are these right? Like, I don't think that looks right to me. And they're kind of like, oh, I don't know, there's variances that are allowed and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And then we had a job that went out in Saskatoon and then it became an issue. Customers like, nope,
I have 2 different colors of boards here. And so you were involved in that. I was like,
Yeah. And so
yes, you do.
what happened was the deck was like, let's say the deck was 12 feet out or maybe it was 14 feet out. Doesn't matter how far out it was. It was out. A section was 16 feet wide, and then there was a hot tub in the corner, and then the next 11 boards were 12 footers. And so we had, I don't know what we would have had, 20 16-foot boards and 11 12-foot boards. And they were vastly different. And so we ended up just selling 16-footers for the price of 12s. So that he was able to, like, you know, complete the job and get it to work. Sent it to our reps, and they moved fast.
Yeah. So how this often happens is like you get a bad lift and the color looks off whenever, and you go through a bit of back and forthing, and then finally somebody will admit to like, yeah, you know what, that one's probably not right. It's like, okay, we'll credit you for those ones, and then you just order more material. What happened with this one is like, hey, we have this one job that's like the colors aren't right. Ooh, yeah, those that doesn't look quite right. Are your other lifts like that? Like, hard to say. We haven't gone into a lot of them, whatever. Okay, let's take this away. Comes back.
They came and they actually checked the stamp, the date, the production date on all of our lifts.
Okay.
Right? And so we went through and it was like produced. This one ran in October. This one ran in November. This one ran January. This one ran February. So we had all of our material ranged from sometime in October to sometime in February that it was manufactured.
Gotcha.
And so they packed it all up and they put it.
We're going to send trucks over to your stores and pack up all of your Catalina, all of it. And then we're going to have new stuff shipped directly from the plant to you. Okay.
I'll be totally honest. When that happened, I was just like, that's customer service. That's how that should go.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that it should go like that until it went like that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, now I'll sell that board because like, I know for sure that they're going to take care of it.
So imagine the next poor guy that gets a bad color. You go to the rep, you're like, we have some boards that are not right. Oh, okay. Like, send me some pictures and we'll give you a credit. No, actually, I'd like you to come here and pick all your shit up.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy. We can't do that.
Yeah.
They did.
Yep.
So
you can do that. You can do that.
So they did a full reset on our entire stock. We were without it for maybe like a week. Not too bad.
Not
they
bad.
came, picked it all up, took it away. It was like next stuff showed right back up.
And the customers that were waiting for it, like, that's a super easy story to tell them. Like, hey, you paid for it. The product that we had in our yard wasn't that great. It's delayed about a week, maybe 2 to get back to you because we're waiting on all brand new inventory to come because they are not confident in selling what was in our yard. They've swapped it. Oh, well, that's pretty good. I guess I'll wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fairly seamless turnaround on that, considering how big of an endeavor it was.
Yeah.
Fairly
that's
seamless.
fantastic.
So, well, there's stuff in the ground now, and so I think that'll hopefully be better, and hopefully it's
let's hope it's
a
all
one-time thing.
Yeah. That's it.
There's a Trex rep or two listening to me like,
it is what it is, man.
Here it comes. Like, when's our turn? So right now, the biggest culprit to not pull any punches has been Trex this year. Has always been Trex. I'll say
it's always been
worse
Trex
this year. So man, oh man, we've gotten especially Island Mist and Foggy Wharf, it seems, but like that's not even true. We've had Coastal Bluff that looks like Toasted Sand. We've had Toasted Sand that looks like Coastal Bluff. We've had Foggy Wharf that looks like Island Mist. We've had Island Mist that looks like the old clamshell. We've had Island Mist that looks like Foggy Wharf.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all over the place.
We did a spiced rum one time that was just like almost black.
Spiced rum, yeah, like
it was like no streaking, almost black. It was like, what happened here?
Tiki Torch that was just orange. Tiki Torch just had a nice red streaking to it, like it should. Like, so over the years, I would say that it's probably been it's absolutely been the worst for dial-out issues, but this year it's been just crazy. And so I brought it up with and I'm sure you did too when you talked to him, but I brought it up with the rep and I was like, he's like, any issues this year? I was like, and I almost wasn't going to mention it because it's already kind of a known issue from previous years that there's dial-out issues. Mm-hmm. I almost didn't mention it. I was like, no, like not really. He's like, okay.
Because like what are you going to do? You're going to mention it again? Like you mentioned it last year
right.
And you mentioned it the year before. And it's like, it's not like anything really happens.
He kind of pressed a little bit and asked again. And I was like,
Okay.
And I was like, well, I mean, just like saying like color issues again this year, like big time though. He's like, yeah. That's I kind of figured that you were going to tell me that. And I was like, and like the board widths have always been an issue too. So that's
Yeah,
like,
it's when you change
these
between,
things are still issues is all that's happening. Like,
it's like your 12-foot board is 5 3/8 or 5 7/16, and your 16-foot boards are 5 1/2 or 5 9/16.
Yeah.
It's not massive, but
times 24
26 times in a row,
Yep.
it becomes an issue.
Yeah. So anyways, he had said that they had changed their, I hope I'm not saying anything he didn't want me to share, but he like shared it pretty openly in the sales floor, like that they had they were working with like artificial intelligence or AI to do the coloring their boards now, like some new technology for coloring their boards. I don't know if this is, I don't know. He didn't give too much details, just said AI. And I was like, oh AI, yeah.
Yeah.
But, and it's not, they're having some issues with it. And so I think he said they kind of got things sorted out, but it's going to take time for all that material to like work its way through the channel. But he said at one point too, that they were kind of like, they had, you know, that just people on the line, quality control people were just given kind of two boards. And it's like, make sure the colors are between these two colors, the light and the dark. That's what's acceptable. And that like sometimes people are colorblind.
Well,
like they're just not good judges of color. Right?
And he said the other thing that they found was that people were actually working within, like, they were working around the light color. They were supposed to be only on one side of it, but some stuff that was close on the other side. If it was just a little bit lighter, it was like, well, that would work. And they let that go when they were only supposed to let it go if it was darker, right?
Right.
This is the acceptable light. This is the acceptable dark, work in between. And what they found was people were on either side. So they ended up actually producing a board that they were happy with. And then they went to one board. And it was like, this is the middle. You can be slightly on either side. And that's how their people are supposed to be color judging.
Right.
That's the part I think should be automated.
Yeah.
There should be a laser like reading that, right?
Yeah. And so it sounds like they're getting the technology put in there, and that this should hopefully clear up at some point by the end of the year, maybe. And the width issue too, he said that they've gotten some technology in there that's like digitally calipering the width of the boards now, and that will hopefully resolve as well. I can't remember if it was our rep or if it was somebody from Trex when we were down in Vegas or what it was, that had said that their new series, like the signature series that has like, I don't know if this is exact technology, but what seems to me like an acrylic cap on it.
Yeah, the photo print.
That because like it has to be 5.5, that stuff perfectly, or the cap doesn't heat fuse in the right spot in the bottom. So if you don't have your width nailed down perfectly, the board like it won't fuse properly, and then it fails. Then it's a bad board. So because of that, they've had to like really double down on fixing the width issue.
So that's good.
So for all of their boards now, I guess. So hopefully that resolves as well too, because I know it's been like one of the biggest frustrations for contractors, especially over the years, has been like the inconsistency in widths, especially like, again, it's not just Trex. There's others that have had it too, but nobody more than Trex. Trex is just like, it's a known thing when you're doing a Trex deck. You have to account for these inconsistencies.
Yeah, and for Trex, for a contractor, I think that's actually probably okay with the contractor, you know, because they're like able to problem solve through that. We had a customer that was a homeowner. It was like 12-foot spine board, 20-foot spine board, 12-foot, and that was the end of the deck, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like
because they wouldn't be able to figure out what to do.
42 feet of decking, and it was just like, whoa, how do I fix this now? Because they had put it all down and it didn't line up. I was like,
and they would tend to like, they would just do like 12-foot section, then 16-foot section, not
that's
12,
exactly
16,
what
12,
they did.
16, like
That's
you do it at the
exactly
same
what
time,
happened.
you can adjust. Anyway, and the only other thing I'll mention, because it is a bit of a small bit of an issue that came up recently, is that just in case somebody doesn't know, and hopefully they fix this, but the Transcend lineage line, which is a beautiful looking line,
Yes.
the fascia board is using the old embossing wheels from the regular Transcend line, whereas the decking has that new smooth embossing.
Yes.
And that's an issue.
It's an issue when you do the stairs. So one of the, like, some of the stuff I've heard is that like around a boardroom table, people talked about it and they're like, well, it's okay that it's a different grain pattern.
It's on a different plane. You won't see them together.
Right. You'll be on the deck or you walk up to the deck, and you're absolutely correct. If you're looking at the side of the deck and it's just the fascia you're seeing, you won't be able to tell that the grain isn't the same.
Yeah.
But when you walk up a set of stairs and it's like fascia or riser material on the back and deck board on the tread. It's like, well, there it is.
Yep.
Wrong.
Not perfect.
And it's unfortunate because that's a high-end line.
It's a high-end line.
And
that's the biggest problem.
When you're selling a high-end line, you're not selling to people that tolerate or will accommodate cut corners.
Yeah.
People that buy Porsches or Ferraris, because that's what Trex always, that's almost always what Trex uses for a thing. It's like, this is a Porsche line and this is a Cavalier line. And it's like, well, then if you did a Porsche line and you decided that
the back quarter panel should be a little bit different texture or paint than the rest of the car,
that
like, doesn't make any sense.
We built this Porsche and then we decided to put 14-inch tires on the back. It's like, well, everybody else is doing like 25-inch wide tires on their sports cars. Like, you know, like make the whole thing look good. Yeah. Not just some of it.
So they're not the first to make this boardroom error.
Yeah.
Fibron used to do this with the Good Life line.
Correct.
The Good Life line. Now here's the difference. So the Good Life line used to have like an embossing actually very similar to the Trex Transcend, the original Transcend, not the original Transcend embossing, but the non-lineage Transcend.
Yeah.
Has a very similar embossing to that. But their fascia used to be the same embossing wheel as the Horizon line, which is a very smooth, not deep at all.
Right.
Like very, very different. And so it's like, yeah, you'll just use that with that. And it was already a little bit of an issue with that, but budget board, entry level, nobody made too much of a stink of it because it just is what it is for a budget board.
It was less expensive, right? It was like the fascia was less expensive. The board, it was like all of it was like, well, okay.
Yeah. But when you get up to something where that's like it's 3 times the cost of the Good Life line, like it's an expensive board, it's premium, your expectations are that you're going to be less tolerant of issues with like color changes and dial-out issues and embossing differences and whatever else. So, and we didn't know that was the case. Nobody told us like, heads up, the fascia is going to be the old embossing wheel steel. So we weren't able to pass that information along to the customer. This order was a special order thing. It kind of went out and we found out afterwards.
It went out, got installed, and the homeowner declined it.
Yeah.
And so, to Trek's advantage on this one, they actually took care of it. They swapped out the product.
Yeah.
They gave us deck boards to use as riser material. So certainly a little bit more labor for the contractor. Yeah. And then they like helped with that because it was a new home builder that was starting to work with their product. And it was a contractor that was like really, really close to making pro status. And it was just like, you know what, this is the right thing to do is to help with this. And so, so they did help. And so I feel like, you know, they did good by that, which is great. Yep. And it's just how you handle the issue. Everybody has issues. That happens. We've just listed every single company. Yeah. They all have issues. So how you handle that changes how people feel at the end of it, right?
Yeah, so, for sure. Yeah. You making a mistake isn't the end of it. You can make good on it, right?
That's right.
Yep. So all this to say that everybody across the board
they're struggling.
Has had color issues. You know, some companies like Decorators, you hear back, it's like, oh, you know, our growth has been so crazy that, you know, quality control got a little bit loose there for a bit, but we're going to bring it back. And Trex, it's like they've opened up, are they 3 plants now or something? So like that's been their reasoning. It's like, oh, we've got another plant, and sometimes things come from whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, sounds good. But it's like, we're going the wrong direction on these things, right? We used to have like some dial-out issues here and there, and it's like this year, it's like, it's really bad this year. It's been really bad this year.
It's been, yeah.
And let's really provide some context to that too. We send out dozens of decks packages every week, and it's like you hit these issues once in a while. It's not like half the decks that go to having issues. It's just that it used to be 1%. Now it's like 4% or something, right? Like it's just the amount of errors has jumped up. Yeah. So there's that. That's what we've been dealing with.
Yeah. And it, like, again, not awful, but we're working through that. I feel like we have the support of all the people that, like our suppliers. I feel like they're all helping us. So it's just tiring.
It's just, we know like, we're not the only ones that deal with it, right? We were out with John from Deckers the other night, and some contractors are out, and the one, they brought it up. Yeah. What's the deal? Like, why is your Tundra coming out like different colors all the time? Yeah. And John's like pretty fresh to the role. Not that he would have an answer anyway, because I don't think they ever have like the answer you're looking for. They never have. They never have the answer you want. They can only tell you what you want to hear, kind of thing. But it was like, he's new enough. He's like, dialogue issues.
Gonna have to make some notes. Yeah.
That's not gonna for an explanation, but it's like, it is what it is. So
Yeah.
everybody.
That's the same as when somebody has to, like, when they're restaining their deck and they come in and they're like, so how do I get all the other stain off my deck? I was like, well, you don't want this answer, but here it comes. You have to sand it.
Yeah.
That's it. Right. It's like, you asked the question, but you already know the answer. Same with Mike. He asked the question, was like, what's with the dialot? And it's like, well, it's the dialot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Is there something you just like spray on to remove it? Yeah. Oh, good. But
It
you're
doesn't
still going to
work.
have to sand like,
But it doesn't
like,
work.
It'll do like 70% of the work, but you're still going to have to get down your hands and knees a little bit. So yeah, so that's this was not meant to rag on anybody. It's just kind of like what the industry is dealing with right now, and like we're certainly experiencing maybe a little bit busier than right now than we expected. And like when you talk to us or anybody in the industry, it seemed like, at least in our part of the world, a month and a half ago, everybody would have been like, it's freaking dead. Like it's not good.
It was.
And now all of a sudden everybody's like, we're like cruising. We're hammering out numbers. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some of that too. Things are just like ramping up and hard to control quality when.
When it gets that busy,
So.
it's hard. Yeah.
Now I'm just making excuses for everybody. But anyway, that's it. We're going to do a back-to-back here. So we're going to wrap this one up and then do another one. So for those watching live on the podcast.
The Ultimate Deck Podcast.
Keep
Need a
walking.
show?
That's not the one.
That's
Okay.
the intro.
It is. I thought I had it right. We're going to record another one back-to-back here. We're going to talk about all the different lines of comps that we carry and why we like different lines for different
Thank
people.
you for listening to the
do it.
Ultimate Deck Podcast. Now you know what we're about. Check the site, come and shop. UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right away for sponsorships, or tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.